Mi nombre es Ejecatl García. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a todos. Yo soy coordinador del programa Talents Guadalajara de este año. Y bueno, en conjunción con el programa de clases magistrales, esta clase es con un mentor muy especial que queremos mucho del taller de Motion Studio. Y generalmente estas clases son a puerta cerrada, pero este tema nos pareció bastante interesante. Entonces decidimos abrir la puerta al público y juntarnos con el programa de Masterclass y se la van a pasar increíble. Les presento a Héctor Trejo. Él no es el invitado.
Yo no soy el invitado, pero gracias, Héctor, porque justo el día de hoy les aseguro que van a ver una masterclass como yo creo que ninguno de ustedes ha visto, ni yo he visto. Allá atrás, ahí hay una sorpresa para todos ustedes, de verdad. Cuando estaba hablando con nuestro invitado para esta masterclass, lo que me pude dar cuenta inmediatamente era de, primero, el nivel de imaginación que tiene, el nivel de locura y sobre todo el nivel de disposición, porque sé que hay muchos chicos de Talents aquí. Levanten la mano si son de Talents. Qué chido tenerlos por acá, de verdad. Muchas gracias por venir. Y para todas las personas, pues bienvenidos. Continuamos con el Festival Internacional de Cine de Guadalajara, cumpliendo 40 años. ¡Woo! ¡Qué emoción, de verdad! Quiero agradecerle también a todo el festival, a Estrella, por invitarme a esta masterclass y a poder presenciarla. Porque no va a ser una conversación normal. Lo que yo quiero hacer, por lo que he estado viendo, es darle la bienvenida a nuestro invitado, ver lo que tiene para nosotros. Yo voy a ser una especie de conejillo de indias más que moderador. Yo me voy a sentar en esa silla y yo voy a ir anotando mis preguntas. Y también me encantaría que ustedes vayan anotando sus preguntas, porque al final, dependiendo del tiempo, vamos a tener una pequeña sesión de preguntas y respuestas, pero de entrada no va a ser una plática en donde él nos va a contar algo aburrido y luego ya él nos va a contestar y lo traducimos. No, no, no. Él viene con varias diapositivas, entre las cuales vamos a ver todo su proceso creativo y pues obviamente quiero ir calentando motores, presentando un poco de lo que nuestro invitado ha hecho. Él ha trabajado, no solamente ha trabajado, sino que ha ganado premios como el ANESI, de premios prestigiosos en cuanto a la animación por películas como Coraline, ParaNorman y Kubo. Es muy bonita. La verdad, digo, a ver, me encantaría que me dijeran cuál es su favorita. Hay muchos con Coraline, se ve que sí fueron al reestreno. Oigan, para no hacer esta plática más larga, quiero invitar, por favor, a que comience su presentación titulada Mr. Director, Your Monster is Sinking into the Lake. Señor director, su monstruo se está hundiendo en el lago. Al gran, loco y apasionado artista Ean McNamara. Ean, hello.
Buenas noches.
How are you, Ean?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien, muy bien.
Lo siento, pero mi español un poco.
You can do it, you can do it.
It's an honor to be here tonight. I've never been to Guadalajara. It's gorgeous. I've never been to this campus. It's incredible. And the talents, the students, Taller de Chucho, the films here are in a class of their own that is not only international, but one of a kind. And I couldn't be happier to be here tonight. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you, Ean. It's an honor. I think we're going to start with something that you have prepared for us, and I'm going to be kind of like the guinea pig also in this kind of a experiment, and I would love you to start. Also, if you could help us taking the microphone a little bit closer for everyone to listen. Y nada más para hacerles una aclaración, sé que hay traducción simultánea, algunos tienen la traducción simultánea, pero cuando hay algún tipo de interacción de parte de ustedes hacia Ian, yo haré la traducción y eventualmente Ian contestará y se escuchará en la traducción simultánea para que todos estemos bien organizaditos. I was explaining only the translation things.
I believe you.
So Ian, you can start, and then anything, I could be with you, and I will be with you, guiding you, and let's start with everything. First of all, let's break the ice. I know that you are impressed with Guadalajara and FICG because it's a gorgeous place where we are, and also the students. But I wanted to ask you, how do you think animation and your craft has evolved through these last years, which technology has evolved impressively?
Well, technology can't replace people. It never will. We can talk about AI in the Q&A session, okay? But I think the biggest thing is that we can see everybody's work. I mean, I remember when G-Kids was just showing like one international film a year and it always got an Academy Award, and now we have international films getting Academy Awards all the time. So, I mean, I think it's just incredible that we get to see everybody's work with a click of a button, and I don't need a computer to do that for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I think we are ready to start. Where do you want to start? We're open for your presentation.
Well, we're going to start with a detour first, and we're going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. So do you want to have a sit with me?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see how this works. It's true. Okay, so this is Billy Wilder having a really good night. He was a director. He directed Sunset Boulevard, a really good movie. He wanted to make a Sherlock Holmes movie where Sherlock Holmes kissed boys, did drugs, and fought Loch Ness Monster. No notes. Every movie could be this movie for me. He had a 30-foot-long prop built that he actually brought out into the lake. But when it got out into the lake, he looked at it and he was like, I don't like the humps on the monster. So he went to his producer and said, I don't like the humps. And the producer went to the production designer and said, Billy doesn't like the humps. And then the production designer went to his crew and said, well, Billy doesn't like the humps, we got to get rid of him. At which point, someone raised their hand and said, well, the balloons that keep the monster floating are in the humps. Now, this is a question for everyone. Sign of hands, raise your hand. Do you think they listened to that person, or did they listen to the director? You're all professionals, you know the answer. So that monster sank down into the bottom of the lake. It went down, 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 all the way to the bottom of the lake. And sometimes I feel like that monster. And I ask myself, why does Billy Wilder keep hurting me? But this is what we do in film. I grew up in New England. It's a terrible place. As we watch this, you're going to see something, so wait for it. We've got one Twin Peaks character. We've got another slew of Twin Peaks characters. Another one. Another one. Uh-oh, one of these things is not like the other. It's a terrible place. They're getting ready to burn a witch. Future Trump voters. My mom grew up in New England, and she was one of the first women directors at RISD. And this is a student film she shot, just to kind of show how weird it really is growing up there. My mom was pretty cool. She introduced me to David Bowie. My dad was a person who was easy to love, but not easy to be around. We would watch a lot of Godzilla movies together. Now, I blame his mother. This is Nana. Nana is a classic New England, Connecticut debutante. And as our dad became more ill and just rougher to handle, I would call her and I'd be like, Nana, I'm worried about Dad. And you could hear her on the other end of the phone with a martini glass in hand. And she would say, your father is too chicken to kill himself. Love you. And she was right. We had to pull the plug on Dad, so score one for Nana. I left New England as quickly as I could, and I went to Baltimore, where I learned that college is paying for free time. Baltimore's really cool. Baltimore defies the internet. I watched a lot of John Waters movies. I went to my first leather club. I protested the second Iraq War, but during the second Bush term, I think that's it. And I learned data processing and work study programs. I also adopted Satan as a cat. Every once in a while I drew stuff. I had one professor, Jose Villarrubia. He is a world-famous colorist for Marvel and DC. He's also restored all of Richard Corbin's work, which I recommend taking a look at. And then I had a stop-motion professor, Laurence Arcadia. And she's pretty cool.
Hey.
So Laurence, she was looking at my work and she said, hey, I have a friend and he's over in Oregon and they're adapting this book, Coraline. Do you know it? I might have read it once or twice. Well, that was enough Cab Calloway for one day. I packed up a portfolio. And I sent it to Leica. And they said, you're hired. It was that easy. And nothing bad ever happened again. I packed up my cat, and I went to Oregon, and it all just worked out exactly as I thought it would. So I got there, and it was on Coraline, and they were like, sorry, we just fired the art director. We can't hire artists anymore. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I took this across the country in an airplane. I can't go back. And they asked me, can you do data entry? Yes, I can. So I went into data entry for the story department, and you would actually take hand-drawn boards and you would scan them in. You would have to number all of them and program them for Avid. You saw a lot of wild stuff. This is pure apocrypha. No one can prove if this is true or not, but there might be video footage of Dakota Fanning doing her lines, and she looks up for a minute at midline and she asks across the script, who am I reading against for YB? And you hear Henry across the room go, Robert Bailey Jr. And she looks up at the ceiling, processing what she's heard, and kind of going over it in her mind, a little professional. And then you see her mouth, Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. Okay. So she may or may not have been reading against Iron Man for most of Coraline. Who's to say? So this is a shout out to lady producers. They're incredible, and you clean up a lot of messes that you shouldn't have to clean up. This is Sarah Serrata. She's been at everything. She's a stop motion pro. She's wonderful. And one day while I was maybe going through footage of Dakota Fanning and other people flubbing their lines, she walked by and kind of did one of these things. Do you draw? I mean, a little? So she told me that this guy, Henry Selick, sweet boy, he had this thing in Coraline with a door, and the door needs to open, it needs a key. And she was like, Henry would like you to draw a key. I didn't have a Cintiq, I didn't really have paper. It was sort of the camera department where I was, and what I did have is I had black foam core, Sharpies, and whiteout. So I got to it, and I started doing some key silhouettes, and I did some more key silhouettes, and I did these key silhouettes, and Henry came down, and this is something with production in general, is it's really easy to sometimes be like, is this happening for a reason? Or, and this could be a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes you're like, someone's being mean to me, and really they're just very busy, and they don't know how to enter people. And other times you're like, oh, was this all planned? And then you're like, no, this literally just happened because movies are chaos. Henry came down and he was like, I guess it should just be the key, right? Like the key should just have the button on it and that's it? And it was like a question. I was like, I don't know, you're the director. I just thought it made sense, it's the button movie. So. It was a blessed day. So there's me with my Obama pin. Oh, a side note, this red hat is not an American red hat. It's my red hat. I was doing a lot of props, some small locations, and then every once in a while I would get to sort of pitch something weird to Henry. Like there was this thing where it was like, oh, the candy comes out of the old lady's cabinet. What can you do with it? I was like, what if their heads pop off? And I think because I was always pitching like a little narrative in it, I ended up moving into story. And what I brought with me is really early rough boards for Sequence 2900, which is why don't we play a game? And I learned a lot on this. I also want to say that on a feature especially, no one owns a sequence. So this is my pass at it, but like Chris Butler, Vera Brasco, Julian, they all, Graham Annabelle, they all contributed. So it's very hard to say you own anything on a film, and I don't consider owning this, but there are some neat things about it. Starting with, we were already in production. So we had to go onto the sets and be like, what are we gonna do? Like the other mother's 8 feet tall. Like how do we frame out these scenes? And so I just went down with a piece of cardboard and was like, well, she can't be that big. She's quite big. So I ended up making this sequence about how big she is, and this idea that you have this intimidating presence and Coraline is seated. And we can talk through this. There's no audio because I couldn't steal the audio from Leica's files. That shot was in there forever. This like close up of her eyes, like a bead of sweat. I also think she's preparing something like fried tomatoes and bacon, and Henry looked at that and was like, what is this, like some kind of weird farmer's breakfast? I was like, I don't know, Henry, it's just what we were doing. He was like, well, make an omelet or something, it's breakfast. Breaking the 180 rule, early storyboard artist. On Coraline, the other thing that was happening was it was an early 3D film during the 3D boom. And what Henry and Mike Cochuela did is they built what was sort of a 3D script alongside the script. And some of you may notice or know this, that in the real world in Coraline, all the rooms are compressed, and in the other world, all the rooms are full scale, not forced perspective. And with this sequence, we got to play with the 3D a lot. For example, it's like her hand is coming right at you. I got to invent this little thing with her hands. I like that. Coraline's always so angry. She's like, what do you mean rules? Fine, whatever, I'll shake your hand, you old hag. And she's gone. So, we're going to talk about designing now. What is the intention of your location? And this came out of doing this kitchen thing, because I was like, all right, so did we purposely design the kitchen to be this size for a giant monster lady, or do we just have to make do? And in production design or development, especially early development, you can kind of force the hand of the storytelling by what you draw. For example, in Kubo, we have a lot of vistas and a lot of walking. A lot of vistas, a lot of walking, and a lot of big monsters, a lot of scale. What do you do when you have characters walk in animation, especially if they're talking? I mean, if they're just doing this and they're not carrying a binder and in the White House and in the West Wing, there's not really a lot of urgency about it, is there? But if you draw something like that early in production, the director has to ask themselves, well, during the script, what am I going to have the characters do? Fall off the stairs? And that's little things that we can do as artists to kind of bring interest to something without having to really pitch it. If you send something like that to a director, then the director has to go, well, I really like this, but it means that this is a climbing scene now, not a walking scene. And I consider that a personal victory. Similarly, what is the limitation of your character? And for this, I'm probably going to have to run away and come back. So hold tight for 1 second.
Vamos a esperarlo tantito. Porque créanme que Ian no se quedó en su cuarto de hotel nada más disfrutando Guadalajara, sino que creo que en verdad necesitó preguntar si podía meter una pistola de silicón y meter varias cosas, porque creo que Ian ya está listo para traer uno de sus primeros props a escena.
Box Trolls was a wild production. One of the first things the director said was, I can't wait to make a movie with a giant rat in it. There he is. Is he in the movie? No. What can you do? When you're designing characters, you want to think about what their limitations are. And again, this is something that you can bake in early in the movie. If you have a character, again, who is just walking and talking and they're wearing a box and they're doing this, is there anything different about them than a human wearing a box? But if you Edna mode them, watch this. I can't get the water. Now imagine trying to steal something wearing this. In stop motion, I think we stick with human proportions because they're easy to animate. But you get so much more mileage if you just push things a little bit. Okay. Choosing color in films. This is an unrelated to anything we've talked about sad old house palette with neon blue Windex. Does it belong there? No. Why do you want to look at the Windex? It's not the main character. But someone in the prop department might paint the Windex colors, and then it sits in your set and you go, woof, that's a lot of blue. When maybe it should be like dirty dishwater, because it's a sad old house. Imagine you've got gross dishwater and you're cleaning a window. It's kind of a joke in its own right. Princess Cake Shop. I'm gonna need someone from the audience to answer for this one. Windex. What color could the Windex be instead? Yeah, just shout.
Someone said green.
Green?
Pink.
Pink. Yeah. It's easy, but are we supposed to be looking at it? Probably not. Dracula's castle. So this is a trick question. Red, but why red? Blood red Dracula. This is an easy joke. Dracula's walking around, he's doing his castle with Windex, but it's blood. You need to see it because it's the joke. This is where you would have a neon bright color of some kind that contrasts with the palette. Okay. So ParaNorman started as a limited color palette film. And the idea was autumn, okay? Blue and green would only show up when you have something supernatural happening. Everything else would be yellows, grays, reds. Your sky could be white. In New England, the sky often is white. It's awful. But I am not a fan of bluegrass, well, bluegrass is nice. Blue skies and green grass. It's such an easy color pick. And you have people like Mary Blair who are like, why isn't the sky turquoise and the water's brown? And I ask that every day. Plus, you get to let the really important things pop in this case. This is sort of the, again, contrary to the Windex rule. And you get to have these beautiful, warm color palettes, lots of black, lots of silhouettes. And again, everything went just according to plan. Travis saw Fantastic Mr. Fox early and came back and said, make the grass green and the skies blue. Okay. Tadahiro, early artist on Coraline. He drew this house a lot. We had art directors and fabricators and builders, and he came to visit, and they were like, okay, what is the staircase made out of? Like, is it nails? Is it rivets? What's going on here? And Tadahiro looked at his art, and he looked back at them and went, it's not important. And he's right. Sometimes in stop motion or animation in general, things can be more gestural. You don't have to be like, I've researched this 1930s house, and that fire escape is actually an add-on from the 50s, and it used to have like a step ladder on it, and they took it off, but that's why there are hinges there. I don't care. I don't care. Neither does Tadahiro. Neither does the audience. Just make something that looks nice and is gestural. Sometimes we just have too much detail in films. Similar note, Heidi Smith, ParaNorman. We had this thing that we called the nervous line with her work. How do you translate that and not do it literally? Or I guess, how do you do it literally and not translate it into tiny genes? We talked about doing natural materials for costumes and choosing to not do real hair, but instead stuff like cut raffia, so you have the motion of those lines, but not literally saying, he has a wig of hair. That is all those lines. There's also the cut-up technique, which is one of my favorite things. David Bowie and Burroughs both shared this technique where they would take their material, chop it up, and then see what they got to surprise themselves. And you can do something similar using paper when you're doing your own collage work. This piece came up completely organically. I just had a bunch of sheets of acetate and chopped up the paper, put it down, moved things around, then I scanned it all in. I was able to do the same thing for the maquettes from ParaNorman. And it's, I don't know, just really fun. It's a different way of approaching art making and sculpting, where you're almost doing it like you're building Legos, but all the Legos are fucked up. And sometimes you get results you're pretty happy with. Okay, so this guy again. He had a saying, and that was, you get light for free. And I'm gonna need some assistance for this one. But
So are we gonna bring up some of the people in the audience, right?
some people from the talents program, maybe?
Excellent. So please, the volunteers that have been already selected, quienes ya fueron seleccionados, por favor, acompañen a nuestro staff del FICG y ahorita pasarán al frente. Do we need to bring some other stuff from the
I
back?
think they're gonna bring it out. So why don't you and I talk about New England for a minute as maybe
Awesome.
the lights go down?
Yes.
And we can also talk about Yoko Ono.
Yes. Let me tell you, I saw your Twitter feed, and mainly all your posts are directed to Yoko Ono.
I think that's the only one. I asked Yoko Ono, hey, you have this one song that you perform live, but it's not on any album, and it's great. What's up with that? And she wrote back, snow is really important to me. I'm very thankful. Yoko's here because she is an artist who had to sort of persevere. And she dealt with fleeing Tokyo when it was firebombed. She had to deal with immigrating into America. She had to deal with being a woman artist, and then a famous woman artist, then a famous woman artist who was married to a Beatle. And I think that's a lot of the time why she was shouting. It was like a communication breakdown, as she said. And as artists, often we have to yell to sort of let ourselves be heard. And we yell through our art, we yell through not making art sometimes. Like the absence of an artist is kind of just as shocking as when you actually make something. Cats is a great example of that. She had this piece called Lighthouse, and all it is just broken up pieces of glass. But they do pretty wild things. And Henry, similarly, said in stop motion, if you only have a little, you can plus it with light. Light is one of the easiest things for you to do to set mood. It's one of the simplest devices for us to employ to frighten, scare, draw attention. And so, with that said, we have this early piece of production art from ParaNorman. And we have two lights. lights down?
¿Podemos apagar las luces, por favor? Tener estas luces un poquito más abajo, por favor. Is that okay? Even darker. Yes, even darker. Más oscuro, lo más oscuro que se pueda. Lo más oscuro. Yeah.
All right, so imagine it's a New England night. What, did yours go on now?
Yeah, it's working.
It's a cold New England night. This little boy in an unnamed movie has failed to stop a curse from falling upon his town. He's been beaten up by a bully. He's left in the middle of the woods. All he has is his bike, which is toppled over, and the red light on the back is flashing on and off, on and off. And then he hears out in the woods something rustling, and his lights are turning on and off, on and off, on and off. And we're gonna scream at the end of this as loud as a Yoko Ono might. And you'll know when it's gonna happen because I'm gonna switch the lights. Can we get a practice scream? On a 1, 2, 3, yell something. You all must work in Hollywood. Something's coming. Something horrible is coming. But what is it? Norman doesn't know. He's too afraid. He turns his bike around and thank you so much.
Démosle un aplauso, por favor.
A round of hands for the talents from the animation program, please.
Por favor, un aplauso para los chicos de Talents, por favor.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And these fine people are the future of animation. Their work is so interesting, and they've been so kind to share it with me. And it couldn't have been a nicer trip. So thank you for having me.
Demos un aplauso, por favor. A Ean McNamara, por favor. Un fuerte aplauso, que se escuche bien ese aplauso. This has been a masterclass as no other. It's just been amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The souls are sons.
Yes, I think we're going to go to a Q&A, so we're going to have some questions from the audience. And vamos a darle un fuerte aplauso de nuevo a los chicos de Talents, que están por acá. I think they're going to take a picture with you here in the front with everything. So que se acerque el fotógrafo, por favor, nada más para que les pueda tomar una foto y ahorita continuamos con el Q&A. Vamos a hacer una contraplano, entonces por favor, si ustedes y los chicos se pueden voltear para ver hacia allá, también ustedes voltean hacia allá, and we're going to do it with all the audience. So if you can just turn, we're going to take the picture from here. Here is going to be our photographer. Also, chicos, si pueden caminar para acá para tomar una foto al revés. Perfecto. ¿Qué tal te funciona el gran angular ahí para esa foto? Si nos podemos pasar de la silla. Yo ya les estoy poniendo una prueba del Cirque du Soleil, disculpen. Ahí está. Todos con las manos arriba, todos con las manos arriba. I want to join for one picture. Un gran aplauso para Ean McNamara. Vamos a volteen, nada más volteen para acá porque quieren una de este lado. Esa coordinación, muy bien. Vamos a tomar una foto de este lado.
That table is a killer.
Yes, I know. And now only one with Ean. Let me decide. Oigan, no crean que voló con esto, ¿eh? O sea, esto lo hizo en su cuarto de hotel. Nada más les estoy diciendo. Now we're going to continue with the Q&A. Vamos a seguir con el Q&A, chicos. No sé si voy a tener a alguien allá abajo con un micrófono. Perfecto. Para abrir la sesión. A todos los chicos de Talent les agradezco muchísimo. Podemos salir si quieren por la segunda pierna. Perfecto. The shadows look amazing. Ahora sí, ha llegado el momento después de esta gran presentación. No sé dónde esté el micrófono de ese lado, pero yo vi, la primera mano alzada que vi es la chica que está ahí de mi lado izquierdo, que es derecho de ustedes.
Hola, me llamo Carolina y quisiera preguntarte, a base de, pues de lo que dijiste ahorita y de los procesos que has hecho para llegar a donde estás, quisiera saber si has tenido algún inconveniente en cuestión de que no te han dejado hacer algún proyecto, un proyecto que tú a lo mejor quisiste haber hecho, o si has llegado a tener, pues, haber perdido pues la imaginación o algo durante un proyecto en el que estés trabajando y cómo lo has resuelto, perdón. Perdón.
No te apures. Talking about your process, did you have find any inconvenience that mainly someone has told you that you cannot do something and that had derived in a creative block, or kind of how do you kind of like surpass the creative block and when someone says you no?
All the time. No, I don't think I talked about this yet, but as artists, we have a romantic part of our brain and pragmatic part of our brain. And the romantic side might be like, oh my God, what if we built 3 giant puppets and brought them for the presentation? And the pragmatic side goes, you'll die. Alternatively, the pragmatic side might be like, well, you have 4 nights and you can sleep on 2 hours. And the romantic side goes, no. So, how do you get over that? On a feature film, you're just kind of shit out of luck, right? Like, it's the director's project, it's the producer's project, it's not your project. So a healthy way to look at it is exactly like that. You might luck out and you're like, I got to contribute something that was like really personal to me. Other times it's a job and you go home and you pet your cat and you play Skyrim and marry Farkas the werewolf for the 18th time. You know, find what brings you joy. If it's your personal work and you're dealing with a writer's block, don't do what Stephen King did, which is get high and hit by a truck. I think it's sort of rediscovering what makes you excited about stuff in general. So maybe don't try and force the art, and instead read a book that you were really inspired by and see how you've changed. There's that, you all might be too young to really have enjoyed Adventure Time. Is that true? No? Right generation? Okay.
You're on the target, yes.
Good,
that
good,
was
good,
the
good,
target of Adventure Time.
In the new Adventure Time movies, there's that one with Marceline where she has to write a new song to like put a dragon to sleep or something, and Princess Bubblegum is like, why don't you just write a new song? And Marceline's like, I'm older now and I don't write stuff about what I was angry about when I was 20. And it's like, yeah, you might have to go find new inspiration. You might read Wicked again and be like, oh, it wasn't that good. But maybe that'll point you in the direction of new art. Did that answer?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to do a little pause. A film as a creative and collaborative process. Can you give us kind of, I know that there is no like master key for this, but can you give us a practical advice for pitching any of your coworkers when you have a new idea, instead of kind of like going and saying, yes, I want to do this? No. Is there any way like you can be and do a collaborative work?
Mm-hmm. Find out if they're hungry and angry first. Yeah, it's picking the right time. Like, if you're really excited about something, you might, and I've done this, like just burst into a director, even through your friend, like into a director's office and be like, oh my God, they should all be chinchillas. And that person's going through a divorce and also had to just cut a scene, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, get out. Henry had the nicest way of doing that. What was it? I pitched him something on Coraline, and he went, that's beautiful, but it's not my movie. And I was like, oh, okay. To do it successfully, it is a collaboration. So you want to, reach out and work with the people that you're working with on a regular level, or a regular basis. Don't hide yourself in a corner and be like, I'm just making my art and that's it. I miss pre-pandemic offices when you could go to someone's office and they had Transformers on their desk, and you'd bring yours and you'd play with each other. And then you'd be like, does this scene make sense between Optimus Prime and Skeletor? Or do we need to rewrite their dialogue? So I think finding a sense of play, that might be the best advice I can have. Is everything we do is some form of creative problem solving mixed with playing. And so if you can play with your employees or your co-workers, then they're more likely to say yes to your pitch.
Amazing, thanks. We have another question here. Y ahorita vamos del lado ya derecho.
Gracias. Muchas gracias por la clase, estuvo fabulosa. Creo que todos los de la sala sí nos moviste al 100. Y mi pregunta es, ¿qué tan importante es el factor narrativo a la hora de diseñar tus personajes? Y si en animación hay principios de animación, ¿podrías mencionar si hay principios como para diseñar un personaje o 3 puntos que son indispensables para tomar en cuenta a la hora de diseñar un personaje? Y por último, si te podrías tomar una foto con mi puppet de animación. Gracias.
Okay, so first of all, he says that what you explained us here in the masterclass was really moving, and he wanted to know if the narrative in some kind of a way influenced the character, and if there are like 3 essential things that you need to do when creating a character, and does those 3 things involve the narrative and the story that you are telling?
The one right now?
Huh?
Or in general?
In general, in general.
Oh, I mean, I did lie through this whole thing. I don't have a grandmother. I had 2. We actually talked a lot about this with the talents projects, and there is a question of what do you want the audience to feel about this character? Because you can have like a Twilight Zone episode, right? And if you're crafting a character for that, you either want the Twilight Zone episode to end where you have like existential horror for what's happened to this character. Oh my God, their husband's a thumb? And it's supposed to be really upsetting, and you're supposed to be upset with that character. There are other times where there's a twist in a story, and you're supposed to, as an audience member, feel kind of smug with yourself because you figured out what the twist is before it happens to the character. So you kind of hate the character, but you're enjoying hating the character. So I think the first thing is finding out, do you like or dislike this character? After that, I think finding business for the characters. Like, ask yourself, if I went shopping with Skeletor, what kind of, time would I have? And you probably can figure that out pretty quick. It would be a lot of shouting, a lot of pointing, a lot of furry briefs being bought. And that would mean that Skeletor is a pretty well-drawn character. Last thing? Know where they are coming from. Like, what is their goal, even if it's not the plot's goal? Because you have, like, the overarching plot, I have to stop the world from blowing up, but does that character just really want a sandwich? And how does that affect them when you're writing the story about the world blowing up?
Perfecto, thank you. ¿Tenemos alguna pregunta aquí del lado izquierdo? Y ahorita vamos a ver si ahorita al final logramos hacer lo de la sí, ahorita te prometo.
I also apologize. I feel like I've ignored this corner, so know that you are loved.
Yeah, sorry for it, yeah.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Hay algún problema si hablo mi pregunta directamente en inglés con Ian?
Por favor.
Gracias. So, Ian, thank you very much for the masterclass. This has been really fun and very insightful to your work, to your personal story, and the repercussions of it.
It does feel like repercussions.
My question is, well, your work is, of course, stop motion animation and digital and 2D animation. You showed your resume. But what is your relationship with live action? Like, for example, what kind of live action movies have impacted your work, and do you have any interest or inclination to work in stop motion, live action with the stuff that you showed us today? I could think of, how would you apply the principle of why is your Windex blue to a live action feature film?
Wes Anderson. Yeah, I mean, it's very weird being middle-aged right now, because when I grew up, Tim Burton was cool, and I think he can come back and I think he's cool still. He's my uncle, Uncle Timmy. But imagine being like 10 and realizing that, like, Pee-wee, Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, they all came from the same person. I think a lot of people discovered, like, auteur directors that way, and then they were like, oh wait, but there's also German Expressionism. So, yeah, I'd love to work in live action. I mean, I think there's so many beautiful live action films. I plugged it in the little commercial that we did, but the 4K remaster of The Fall is incredible. I went and I dragged people on Coraline to go see that because live action, on Coraline, it was Tideland, The Host, The Fall. I think those were the three big ones because they all dealt with, like, children in peril, but all in sort of different ways. And you can learn a lot from live action, apply it to animation. There's no reason to sequester it. And yeah, I'd love to work in live action. There's so much we can do in it now.
Gracias. ¿Tenemos alguna otra pregunta? Vamos con los chicos de ahí de en medio para también nivelarlo un poquito. Ahorita vamos con los de atrás.
Igual puedo dirigírsela en inglés.
Claro.
Hi, Ian. Thank you, and welcome to Guadalajara once again. Such a pleasure to have you here. My question especially goes focused to, like, the satisfaction as an artist. You know, like, mostly when you are an artist, you get satisfaction of the acceptance of your work, but obviously it comes moreover where you feel complete or successful when you fulfill a project. But specifically my question goes addressed to the side of how do you cope when, for example, in your mind, in your imagination, you feel that this project is going to be amazing and you are very fulfilled with what you did, but probably the audience or the people do not accept it like that, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I won't speak for all, but I will say that I fight with imposter syndrome all the time. Still, probably forever. Like my sister will show me my niece, and I'll be like, I'm not a good uncle. Like, it's just my second nature. And if something doesn't go over well, yeah, you can feel pretty awful about it. It has made me rethink, like, I love bad movies, but after being on some really difficult productions, I've come to realize, like, every movie is an accident. Like, they stumble into the theater. And you just kind of have to roll with the punches, and you may have been happy with what you did. Other people might have not accepted it, or the film could have bombed. Or your stuff didn't even make it into the movie. The Loch Ness Monster is not as it exists in that Billy Wilder movie. So that poor little man who was sculpting that all day, he's just shit out of luck. His shit is on the bottom of a lake, more so. But personal work still too is important, and having friends. Like that's I worked on Little Ellen, which is Muppet Babies for Ellen DeGeneres. And I say that derisively, but it was one of the best crews, best jobs, some of the most fun work I've done. And even though Zaslav sold it off as a tax write-off, and you'll never see it, I still have all those people as friends, and we had a really good time together.
Vamos, creo que en lo que llega el micrófono allá atrás a los chicos se los debía. I just want a lighter question for you. Okay. So, what do you think? Because we saw in the presentation the kaiju and the Oriental influence. So, is there any new trend or animation style that it's like not new, but like getting into the mainstream that you are liking in this moment or are influenced by?
I think with rapid prototyping so readily available now, replacement animation is going to make a big comeback, especially in stop motion. And I'd like to see more of it.
Awesome. We have a question.
Hi. Well, there's this woman in TikTok that does a lot of videos about all the hidden symbols in Coraline. Okay. And I have like the question, you said that sometimes it's not that important, but then you see like, oh, the door means something, oh, the walls mean something, oh, and everything has like something to say, and I mean, that's really cool, but how do you all came up with those ideas?
So the fan theories are real.
I'm gonna say two things. Sometimes things are very intentional, and what you're seeing is what you're seeing, and it's actually real. Because artists are not like the weather. We are people with real thoughts and urges, and we plan things out. We don't just like whoosh, draw something and then people go, oh my gosh, that's so great, I'm taking it. Like, you know, we work really hard on our ideas, and we put a lot of thoughts into what the symbolism and stuff like that could be. On the flip side, another Coraline story. I was in the art department, and the art department was on the first floor, and then everything important happens on the second floor. On the first floor in the art department, I am working on some of the Art Deco stuff in the theater. And another artist turns to me and goes, well, you know, the Art Deco stuff is really important because it was from when she was a little kid. And I went, what the fuck are you talking about? Who? Coraline? What? Wait, is this set in the 20s? Am I very wrong? Am I going to lose my job? And he was like, no, the other mother, when she was a little kid, and her sister is one of the little dead kids. And she went looking for her sister, and that's how they got lost together, and it was in the 20s, so she remembers Art Deco, and that's why we did all the Art Deco. That's not in the script. What had happened is someone had repitched the movie downstairs, and it hadn't made it upstairs. So we were all drawing Art Deco stuff based on a completely made up idea. So that probably has no rhyme or reason to it.
Wow. So we have time. Tenemos un tiempo para una última pregunta que quiero que sea justo de este lado. Cuidado, ¿estás bien? Sí, una del lado derecho, izquierdo para ustedes. Yes, we have time for one last question.
Hi. Lo puedo decir en inglés, ¿verdad? Sí. Hi. Once again, hi Ian. Welcome to Guadalajara. Thanks a lot for your talk. And thanks a lot for the inspiration, because I think I'm going to steal the puppet idea.
Please.
I'm trying to, yeah, they look amazing. I love how they look in the shadow. Well, my question is, when you're starting to work in a project, it's easy to get carried away and make environments that are huge and have a lot of detail in it, and it's going to have this and it's going to have that. But sooner or later, that thing, environment, character, anything, it's going to be translated into the real world, and tons of the details and scale that you want to put into it, it gets lost in the translation, to say it some way. Do you recommend to let your imagination run wild on that process, or it's better to have the fact that you're going to make it real some time, to have that thought behind your head, or what do you recommend?
This is a question for one of those fabulous lady producers I mentioned earlier. So is this for your own short film, or is this for like working in general? Working in general, draw whatever you want. A producer will stop you, or they'll look at it during the script breakdown and go, "How many statues?" So it'll get caught. So draw something fun and then see where it goes. Plus, again, it might change. It might change something in the story or inspire someone. For your own work, this is that romantic brain, pragmatic brain thing again. Be romantic with your art, but be pragmatic with your time.
And I think that's why when you see the art book and you are like looking all the preconceptions and the drawings, you are like, wow, I hate producers.
No, I love them. They've rescued me so many times. Though I will tell you, when I started at minimum wage, and then they hired me on as an artist, and I didn't know that I should get a pay bump. Everybody who needs to know how much you're supposed to get paid, just call up the tag offices in LA and find out what your industry rates are supposed to be. They'll just tell you. I didn't know this. I then went to a producer and I said, I was thinking maybe, it's been a while, 2 movies, do you think I could get a raise? And she took my hand and went, oh, Ian, we're taking advantage of you. She did quit and gave me a raise as her last act. So again, I love them.
Also thanks to the producers. Por favor, démosle un fuerte aplauso a Ean McNamara. Please, Ian, this applause is for you because this was one of a kind masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you and buenas noches.
Muchas gracias. Mi nombre es Héctor Trejo y ha sido un gran placer estar aquí con ustedes. Ian, thank you very much for tonight.
Should I leave?
Yes, please say hi to everyone. And we only have one quick thing that they wanted for you to sign.
Nada más hacerles rápido una invitación del mismo programa Talents. Mañana hay otras 2 clases magistrales abiertas al público. Una es sobre la narrativa de Michel Franco y su trayectoria, y la otra es narrar desde la imagen con el equipo del Dream Team de la imagen.